Hey everyone, someone here for Wynn Strength. On today's video, I wanted to go over the Titan roller J-hooks for the T3. Anyway, pretty sure they're all the same, depending on if you have the T3 or the Titan Power Rack. This will be a review right around a year to 18 months later, after I initially purchased these. Here are my thoughts and reviews. If you want to see the first video, check it out here. Otherwise, stay tuned for a quick peek on how I think these are going a year later. So after about a year of use, I'm still pretty impressed with the roller cups. They've held up pretty well. I'll throw in some close-ups now of the UHMW or the UMHW plastic on the protecting sides. They've held up quite nicely. I've got the Ohio power bar, which has some probably moderate to aggressive knurling, and despite that, the plastics doesn't have any big gouges out of it. It's mainly just like scuffs and marks here and there, which is completely acceptable based on how you kind of use these things. But I can't see it needing replacement anytime soon. And from like the usage perspective, I'm using them maybe 3 times a week now. So what, light to moderate use, nothing like you would see in a commercial gym, but that's not who this is designed for. Even the roller, which I show a close up to, again, has very minor markings, kind of acceptable. And the reason you probably won't see any scratch marks, or very few scratch marks, is because it rolls. So it still rolls really smoothly. There's no issues with the rolling. It does allow you to move the barbell very smoothly. Again, in the previous video, I rolled something like 400 pounds on it with no issues. You can roll the weight with like one hand. There's no resistance. I haven't put any lubrication whatsoever. Doesn't call for it, doesn't need it. It's just plastic on metal, so you don't really have to worry about it from that perspective. It's not any looser than it was before. I don't think the roller is degrading from the inside. So I think that's fine there from that perspective. The one issue I have been having is the giant lip on the front. I've been known to knock the top of that, or that part of that, when I'm re-racking the barbell a handful of times every couple of weeks. So the barbell hasn't gotten too much damage out of that, and luckily my hands aren't ever really touching where this marks, so it doesn't really affect the usage that way. But I would like to see a complete cover over the J-hook part of it, so that you would have the UHM on the front and the top, so kind of like a little cover that goes over the whole thing, and then that screws in. That would be perfect. That'll be a thing to make this nice. The other thing that's good to note is that it does protect your rack too. There's plastic not only to protect the barbell, but also to protect the upright post, which is a nice touch. It also means you can really cinch this down when you put that into the rack. When you do use that safety pin, it simply screws in, and it'll line up with the holes that they have. My only gripe is that you can't leave the safety pin in and adjust the J-hook. You have to take the safety hook completely out, because the post will rest flush there. In order to move it, you have to take the pin outright completely. I would like them to see a little bit of that shaved off, so you can at least leave some of this in the pin, so you only have to use one hand to take it apart, or to make any adjustments. So I will recommend to use the safety pin. I've tried it without the safety pin, and you get a little bit of sideways wobble, as well as a bit of back and forth wobble, especially when the barbell gets quite heavy. I wouldn't be too concerned with the actual J-cup falling out. That would be like a catastrophic thing, where the barbell has to come sideways in order for this thing to actually get displaced from the post. It's more of a stability issue, where when you're unracking the barbell and making some adjustments, this moves as well when the security pin isn't in there and screwed all the way into the other side of the rack. Once it is screwed in, this thing is rock solid. I have no doubt that it's going anywhere. Even though it does have the roller, without this pin, this thing wobbles like really small, but it does get annoying when you're trying to unrack barbells or make those fine-tune adjustments, especially on the bench press or the squat. So a year into use, I'm extremely impressed with the construction of the Titan roller cup. No issues about quality, no concerns about the welds failing. I've only had around 400 pounds on here, well within the rated 1,000-pound weight limit. And I've never been concerned about anything falling, none of this plastic. It looks like it's going to break. Nothing looks like it's going to fail catastrophically. The only thing is you're going to get those minor scuff marks, and that's kind of to be expected after a year of use with an aggressively knurled barbell. So should you get a pair, I would recommend them. If budget is concerned, the regular J hooks work just fine. Again, these ones have had 500 pounds on them back when I was lifting heavier weights. And that hasn't been any concern about safety. So between the two of them, safety-wise, no concerns either way. It comes down to like personal preference. The roller cups are awesome for bench pressing and squatting because you can get those finer adjustments on the barbell and hand placement, especially with the bench press. For the squat, not so much because you can move your body back and forth and adjust your stance. But with the bench press, when you're lying on the bench, you can't really move your back, nor do you want to. So really, this really shines through when you're bench pressing. You can really get those fine adjustments either way and slide that barbell so that your forearms are like perfectly centered and your arms are perfectly centered where you want them to be. Choices between the roller cup, the J hook, the regular J hook, and then a sandwich cup. I haven't had the chance to use a sandwich hook just yet, but it feels like somewhat of a hybrid between these two because you get that nice, secure, big lip and then just regular plastic on the bottom. You don't get a roller adjustment. So I think it comes down to your budget. This would be my first choice because it's the cheapest and most versatile, and then followed by this would be my second choice there. I do like the fact that it is welded here on the bottom, so you get these extra supports, which is nice. I believe on the new J hooks that Titan's releasing, they have welds on the bottom too, so that makes these a little bit more of a nicer option rather than just this flat J hook there, which I mean, it hasn't shown any signs of unrolling or snapping, knock on wood, in the 5 or 3 years I've owned this thing. So that's not an issue, but it is nice to see that little bit of extra security, that is that peace of mind, especially if something catastrophic happens. Hopefully that helps you decide. Again, if you were interested in getting these, I'll leave a link below so you can check them out on the Titan website. But I have no real major issues with the roller J hooks from Titan, whether that be for the T3 or for the Titan Power Rack. I think you're going to be very impressed with it, and no real cons from my perspective other than maybe cost. These are significantly cheaper than this, but you're going to get a lot more versatility out of the roller cups. This has been Selwyn from Wynn Strength, and remember, a better life through strength. There's a plane. One of the perils of recording outside.